that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AOA, check me out. Look, clocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AOA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boy Isaiah.
Oh, hi, yo.
And Gavin's with us here in spirit today. But we are joined by none other than Dr. Bonehead Joe himself. Joe, say hello to everyone.
What is going on, guys? Happy to be here.
So today, we are ranking the top 6 moments in the Floor of Death arc for Tower of God. It's going to be a fun one. For any other rankings videos, you're like, hey, I found some of them. Where the hell are the rest of them? Dr. Bonehead's channel. So definitely head on over there as soon as you're done watching this one so you can catch things like fights or like characters as well. You don't want to miss it. And definitely check us out on our live stream so you can catch this in the moment. It's a lot of fun, a lot of interaction with the audience as well. You can catch our streams on our Twitch channel. That's AOA Show. So definitely look that up. Our link is in the description down below. And for Joe, you can catch it on his YouTube channel. So Dr. Bonehead there in the flesh, you could just subscribe to that channel and catch it live. But we're going to hop into these rankings today. Joe, take it away, my friend.
All right, let's do it. We're ranking moments. So here are our options. We got them. Okay, I had to stack them here, so give me a second. We got Yuri dual ignites the 13-month series weapons. We got Urek's speech to Hell Joe about him being smaller. Hell Joe repents. Rachel's speech. Gustang's arrival. Bomb rejects Rachel. Oh boy. Garam explains the past, and then Mata's speech to Hockney. Now, this is a top 6 list, which means we got to axe 2 of these. What do you guys think?
You just going through these, dude, again, just saying them,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is going to be tough.
Oh, yeah.
There are some fantastic moments in this. Whew, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hell, man, if anyone has anything, feel free. I'm going to take an extra look over these to see.
I was almost instinctively going to say the Mata one, but I'm like, that's literally his moment. Like, that's literally what makes this character such a standout part.
Yeah.
It's like if you were like, when Mata's introduced, I'd have been like, oh, okay, we could cut that. But it's like literally the one time he gets center stage.
Right, that is his character.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Let's see.
I'm going to do something that Isaiah will probably appreciate.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I got you, because don't think I didn't remember that you saved Huarun from the chopping block in the characters video. And I do appreciate that. I didn't forget that.
Ian's like,
And
I always
I'm
remember.
gonna say we are part of the same show here. So I'm going to say, and this is funny because I think I'm the one who recommended this went in the pool, but I am going to say that I think Rachel's speech out of all of these moments might be one of the ones to deserve the chopping block.
Okay.
I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one is a pretty shallow reason, but hey, it's a reason. And that's that we have Rachel in another moment, even though it's kind of Bomb's moment. So I am jipping Rachel, but who cares? Really.
You're not lying.
And secondly, dude, when I compare these to some of these other moments, it's like, damn, these are some really heavy hitting moments.
They are.
Now, I will give Rachel's speech its due because, again, I'm pretty sure it was either me or you, Joe, or both of us that had recommended that this one even be in the pool of ones to pick from.
Yeah.
We did. And I will stand by the fact that I thought that this was a pretty cool moment, all things considered. Obviously, it coming from Rachel holds a little, there's a little bit of a bad aftertaste with it. But I think what Rachel says in it, although she doesn't live it out properly at times, is something to think about for sure. And I think that it definitely solidifies, might be a controversial topic, but it's like this interesting duality that Bomb and Rachel have in the fact that they're so opposite, right? Like that kind of makes a duality and like this duplicitous kind of two sides of the same coin, but very different, type thing where it's like they're both irregulars around the same age. They've gone with this whole thing, but then, Bomb is always taking the high road where Rachel's always taking the low. But true. It is interesting because one thing that they do seem to merge on is the, the fact that it's make your own fate, type thing. So yeah,
I do think another something that deserves to be pointed out, because it's kind of the crux of Rachel's character, is her speech is pretty hypocritical.
Yes.
Like, she makes this speech about like, oh, you know, screw destiny and fate and like who's to be chosen. But it's like, would that be, and it does in a sense, get turned around on Rachel? It's like, what are you talking about? Bam, the chosen one. Like Rachel, this is sort of, you know, one of the main problems with her character. She will always defend an ideology when it benefits her to do so. But the second it stops like turning out in her favor, she's like, well, never mind. Like, that's not, you know, don't trust that, or that doesn't matter anymore. And it's like, you can't use an ideology if you're not willing to stick by it or defend it, even when like that idea, relevant. Not to bring a character who's not relevant at all, but like Caliban is somebody who, come hell or high water, come good or bad decision, will stick to his ideology no matter what, even if it quite literally doesn't benefit him. And I feel like that's what deducts this speech in Rachel's thing for me, is that like she's making a speech, but the whole time I'm like, yeah, but like, fuck you, like you would turn tail on this the second it's out of favor.
No, that's actually a good point, and I would be totally fine with axing this speech. It makes me wonder, like, SIU has always said Rachel's like his favorite character, and I really do wonder, what if he turns this around? What if Rachel this whole time was actually the chosen one? Could you imagine? Like, what if Rachel this whole time was actually, like, what if she was the baby and like Garam lied and like about Bomb being, I don't know. Like, what if Garam told that to Bomb just so that Bomb could, it's not the case, because Garam's Gustang says, "Oh, you're Arlen's son." Anyway.
No, I think they'd have to spin it if they went that route in a way that we still we're not giving Rachel points just for being the chosen one if she does wind up being it, because I think the message there would be that, chosen one or not, that the way you conduct and act and carry yourself and the people that you help and love and all that kind of stuff and don't exploit for selfish gain.
Right.
That's really, at the end of the day, why Bomb is the protagonist and you're not, even if you are the chosen one. Right?
No, yeah.
I think that would be the way really to spin it, because I would just hate that we give Rachel points. But at the end of the day, that is on us as audience members to basically make our own deductions from it. So I guess that's not up to SIU. If she is the chosen one, it's not, you know, you then leave it up to the audience to make their assumptions. I guess I'm just jumping out in front of it right now and saying that would be my thing, is even if she is the chosen one, in the literal sense, that I don't give her points for that, which may seem obvious, but I felt like I had to clarify it.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
No, I do think it needs to be cut. Goodbye, Rachel's speech. Boom. Okay. With all that being said, I just Rachel's so interesting. Okay, another moment that we have to cut here. We have to cut one more. You know what's interesting? Never mind. I didn't want to say it because I changed my mind, and I knew the chat would get after me if I said it. Never mind.
It's funny. You're just like, yo, I forgot to tell you this thing. It's like, what? And you're like, nothing. Oh my god, that's hilarious. If you genuinely think, if you really change your mind on your own thing,
no.
Because of chat.
No, and it's not. I just realized it was kind of stupid. I was gonna make the argument that Garam explaining the past wasn't a big deal, and then I was like, that's stupid. Because it is a big deal. Like, that's kind of like the big crux of the argument. Do you see why I stayed silent now? Okay, moving on.
Like, always voice your opinion. No question is too stupid. He's like, I think Garam's kind of not a big deal. Okay, one question is stupid. There is one thing you could say that's pretty dumb.
I love the moment. I thought about it and I was like, what am I saying? This is like the biggest thing. All right, whatever.
I think people are going to just take away from the stream that Joe low-key hates Garam.
No, I freaking... You're going to spin this narrative.
Too, so
you're gonna spin this. I swear. All right, look, I love that.
Hilarious.
All right, I think you know what? I think actually, Mata's speech and we have two Helljoe moments here. Well, we have Urek's speech to Helljoe, but then we have Helljoe repents. Is the Helljoe repenting moment worthy of a top 6, or is Mata's speech to Hockney worthy of a top 6?
Damn it.
This is what the going to be the hardest one, dude.
Yeah.
Because they both, I kind of feel like, are character defining.
Yeah.
At the very least.
If I'm going to be real, here's my ticket.
Okay.
And again,
Oh, boy,
I'd like
here
to
we go.
stress it made the list, as in it made the pool here. Okay.
Just saying,
So
that's
before
making me feel
chat
better.
crucifies, I actually think at least for me personally, the one that's most deserving of the chopping block is Gustang's arrival, in my personal opinion. And I think that because there's a lot of
shoot.
hype that's around it. And like Gustang is this like all powerful being and all that kind of crap. But I actually think in terms of, for me, in terms of like the emotional pathos that it, invokes in readers and in me, I don't think it hit personally as hard as some of these other ones. Like if I'm going through it one at a time, I think Yuri dual igniting for the reasons that we said. I mean, we've talked about that moment throughout the course of this discussion, and all three freaking things, I feel like is a big deal. And definitely, although it was small, there is some character development for her there. And that was a big deal. If we're talking about Hell Joe repenting, I feel like that was, again, I've stated it before, that is like the culmination of Hell Joe's arc, right? Like that's the perfect bow to tie on it. Urek's speech to Hell Joe is super impactful and kind of drives home a message to what people are supposed to be maybe taking away from this, that maybe had missed the point of why Hell Joe is not in the right. And I think is very needed for someone maybe even admittedly like myself, who definitely sympathized heavily with Hell Joe and his reasonings, but had to pull it back and be like, okay, but that doesn't justify the way you're going about it, even though I totally think it's frustrating and I get it. So I think that speech is very important. Bomb rejecting Rachel is like, is that really not going to make the list? Do I need to go on? Garam explains the past. Like I said, that's literally like a huge defining moment in this arc, at least in the beginning. And then Mata's speech to Hockney, I think that would be maybe one of the other ones that would maybe compete. But that one is just really impactful in terms of like making Mata a great character and solidifying everybody's love for him. But I think it would be between those two, between Gustang's arrival and Mata's speech, with me more leaning towards Gustang's getting the chopping block. I just think him arriving in and of itself doesn't provide anything to the story besides that he's arriving, and like that's hype.
It's a surprising moment. It's a surprising moment, and it's like an impactful moment where it's like, oh shoot, it's like things are going crazy. It's like, it's really, really awesome because it's like, and he like lays the smackdown on White, kind of like he, I don't know, he takes all the souls out of him. Like, it's a fantastic moment. But it is more on like the epic side, and like if this was, here's the thing, we've talked about this before, the three of us. The Floor of Death is just made up of moments. It's just so many moments, and if Gustang's arrival had happened in like the Name Hunt Station, it would probably be high up on the list because Name Hunt Station was more focused on fights. So I actually agree that when compared to all these emotional moments, we're chopping it. You agree, Isaiah?
Yeah, I agree. I think so.
Goodbye.
It's far and away, it is surprising, but emotional is definitely not the word I would use to describe it. Yeah. Compared to every other moment, which has that.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, we got our 6. So I would probably say Mata at number 6 because it was I agree with Ian in saying that it was the closest one to being chopped. I'm glad it beat out Gustang, but are there any? What do you guys think?
I agree. I think, if I had to pick one to be 6th, and I did also agree with the former that it's like if Gustang didn't get picked, the only other one I could have seen getting picked is Mata's, just because it is, it is, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like if you look at like again like Hell Joe's repent and Mata's speech, Mata's speech says something about his character that is indefinitely helpful to Hockney, but it's something about Mata's character that we've already known, right? It wasn't like, oh shit, Mata's felt this way the whole time. Yeah. It's like you get enough indirect evidence throughout the arc that tells you just how close and how much Hockney means to Mata. So this doesn't like come out of left field in a sense, but I was actually somewhat taken aback by seeing Hell Joe of his own accord decide to stay and repent, especially considering he was fighting so hard to leave in the first place. So I do think that if I had to pick one, for 6 it'd be Matas.
I agree.
Okay. I like that reasoning. Okay. What are we think? So, do we want to keep working from the bottom, or do we have maybe we should save it? Is it more suspenseful if we work from the bottom?
We can work from the bottom just because I'm actually not. I'm not clear necessarily on like what. I don't think there's like a definite number.
I have mine, but I could see a couple of them. So
I would say looking at these, I would probably say Yuri's dual ignition. At least that's what my gut screams. I guess just in comparison to some of the other ones.
Yuri dual ignites. We've talked about it before. We don't need to go into it again. I think it's a good. We've said it like 600. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it made the list. Oh shoot, we've said it so many times. It's a worthy moment to be in the top 6, and I think it does not beat out the emotions felt in these other scenes and the character development that is present. Would you agree, Isaiah?
Absolutely not, Joe. Queen deserves the number 1 spot.
See, the problem is any scene with Kun and Yuri.
Ignite a weapon. I was like, yes, girl, you go, Queen. All right, ignite those weapons. The tower be damned.
Okay, that's just you. All right. Well, with that being said, I like the number 5 spot.
It's a sweet moment. It's a super hype moment. Yuri has a little bit of development, but at the end of the day, Yuri is kind of Yuri, and it's like, to me, it was just kind of already solidifying what we kind of knew about Yuri, but just taking it to the extreme to be like, holy shit, she did it, but do we expect she to do anything different? And it was just like hype as shit. But
that's true.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay.
Could have that nicer, but all
right. Okay, so we got it beat out Mata as a come on, it beat out Mata.
True.
So looking at these other options, I'm thinking.
Kind of feel like Garam's speech would go in 4. Personally.
So I was thinking like Urek's speech.
I was thinking that one too.
Really?
Yeah.
Y'all just didn't fuck with Urek, huh?
No, I love Urek. I just
No, need to pedal back, Joe.
I mean, okay, you know what? I could go either way. Convince me. What do you got? I'm gonna sit back.
Okay. So my thing with Garam's is, again, I can't help but feel like when we're talking about moments, and I will admit that, like I was saying in the previous videos, I think like Urek's moment hit me harder probably than it hits most people. So I will concede that there's bias in this, but like I feel like that moment really hit me compared to the Garam moment. Well, while it's great for Bam to learn all this stuff, I could not help but feel like I was like, and here's all the exposition that we need for the next like 2 chapters, because it was very like, hello, I'm the person who knows all your backstory. Let me take the next 2 chapters to tell you all this information. Is it true? Some of it's kind of. And it's like, it again, in terms of like moments that had emotion behind them, it was like the emotion comes from the revelation of what you as a viewer like piece that info together. But it's like Garam literally sat down on a branch and just like talked to Bam and just told him this story. And I don't know, again, compared to, for me, compared to Urek's speech, with Urek admitting these flaws and really sort of coming down to Hell Joe on a level of like man to man, I just, the Urek moment hit for me.
Ian, convince me otherwise.
Well, actually, I think I agree with Isaiah now.
Okay, I do too, actually.
I don't know. I'm torn because my initial thing was that, okay, Urek's speech has a little more, well, I guess it's a little subjective, but it might have more emotional weight behind it depending on what kind of person you are and how you perceived it. Garam's spilling the beans in terms of like what happened does provide emotional context, but in a different light, I think, where it's like, oh my God, we got this like huge brain blast of everything that happened. It's very sad to hear the story itself and all that kind of thing.
Right.
I'm convincing myself otherwise again. Yeah. But then Isaiah was saying that, that the moment like if we're going off of a moment,
Sure.
like
I feel like it's the emotion from the Garam speech doesn't come from the moment itself. Again, it comes from like what you as a viewer now know and are able to put together, but that moment doesn't happen in the story, right? It doesn't really even happen for Bam, because while Bam, after that speech, Bam is more or less in conflict with like, okay, now that I know this, like, do I kind of have to just follow suit with what she told me, or should I try and do my own thing? But it's like with the Urek moment, that moment is happening to Urek, and it's happening like between him and Hell Joe, and in this, and like I feel like there's a different kind of identification that you do with like the emotion on display in terms of the Urek moment versus the
I guess it's tough because I wasn't maybe why I was almost just convinced there is because I maybe was thinking of Garam's moment not as like a moment, but now that I'm thinking about it, it is technically a moment in time when she does make that, and that's a very relevant story to like the overall arc and the progression and all that. I don't know, Joe, what were your thoughts?
From my perspective, it is a moment. That said, I think it is kind of just exposition, and while it's fantastic exposition, and I love hearing it, and I love the just the whole thing is super awesome. It's almost like Isaiah was saying, like, oh, and here it is. We're finally getting the backstory. It's not, but Urek's moment kind of, it humanizes Urek. Like Isaiah was saying earlier in one of our other segments, it humanizes Urek. We weren't really expecting it. It was much less predictable than the backstory thing. And it's kind of a top tier speech. I saw someone in chat say that. It really is. Like, it's a really awesome scene. And like, the more I think about it, I think I was downplaying it at first, but yeah. Okay.
No, that's fair. I have one more.
Yeah.
I have one more before you make a thing, just to throw it out there. I do feel like if there's a point for Garam's explanation of the past, is that there is just such a huge, it is just such a huge payoff, this moment, in comparison to some of the other ones, in the sense that we as an audience at this point really still have no clue about who or what Bomb is, right? Why Rachel is doing what she's doing. We have virtually no answers. Who his parents are, what his purpose is, etc.
Yeah.
And I feel like while this moment might have been interjected with lies, we don't know, or withheld some of the, well, we know it withheld some of the story, right? After Garam even admits that. This moment really gives us a clearer picture, not only of the past, but then of the future for Bomb, in the sense that we have a clear picture of the past and why Jihad's the bad guy, right? Not it's just like Fug's upset, everyone's pissed off. It's like, this is putting the players in like, this is why we don't like Jihad. This is why you came to be what you are. This is why Rachel doesn't want to go along with this thing, why she thinks she's the chosen one. It kind of puts every other character now into a different perspective. Now, when I look at them and I'm like, oh, it makes sense. I feel like there's a piece of the puzzle now that was missing earlier. Right. And now it's like because of this motivation and this background, it all kind of comes together. And then twofold, like I said, and I said this earlier, I think within the characters discussion, I feel like this backstory or this explanation, this moment is so important because Bomb is almost like the audience as well, where it's like, oh my God, we're finding this out for the first time. So we feel it through Bomb's eyes, but it also now gives Bomb a renewed sense of purpose, where it's like Bomb was just kind of before doing this because he's like, well, Jihad's bad. And then I was part of Fug and I'm trying to save my friends. I'm trying, you know what I mean? Like, I know this is bad, but I don't know why. And then when he finally gets that info, it's like, oh, no. I know Jihad is a genuinely pretty shitty person. And I know now that my parents did what they could to do this. And I know now that like this whole thing is much bigger than me and much bigger than Fug just wanting to use me as their thorn to slit the king's throat. Like, I as an individual, and now it sets up this play where it's like, does Bomb want to go with that? Or does Bomb actually want to take that story? And even now that he has the information, he actually wants to diverge from it, right? Because now it's like the relics of the past are almost imposing their will on him in their own sense. Even if it isn't Fug, it's like, fulfilling the will of Arlene and his father, and like where he's going to go from that. I just feel like it was a very crucial and needed piece of the story as a whole. It, like, in that moment, that if we actually waited almost any longer to get, or if we didn't get it all, I might have been a little more disenfranchised with where the story is going because I wouldn't have seen a lot of the points for some of these characters.
I feel like the thing is, though, again, if we're talking about moments in the Floor of Death arc,
that's also
the great
true.
The great thing about Urek is that it starts and finishes here. You get the complete closure of this emotional impact in this arc, where I would argue that the Garam moment starts here, but you don't get that emotional impact until way later. I would even argue like the Floor of Death when Bam faces Data Jihad. Like that's when
hidden floor.
The crux, where the crux of this conversation with Garam actually you get the closure and the payoff, where it's like this the exposition, for lack of a better term, that Garam gives to Bam actually raises just enough questions as it does answers. It gives us answers into some of the backstory, but like we've said before in various discussions, getting one story does not definitively define the backstory, right? So all we're getting is, and Garam even admits herself, or not to Bam, but we even know not to trust this story 100% because there's something about it that was withheld, or she just straight up lied, whatever. But I guess my point is, it's not so clear and defined where in terms of emotional closure like the Urek moment is.
Yeah, I guess I just feel like it's okay that it's not fully, like it's not meant to be this, like, okay, here's the beginning, middle, and end. I feel like this is the beginning, right? Like this moment is now kind of the springboard for where our characters go, and also the tightrope from where we could pull these characters up out of the mud to kind of wipe it off and see what they're all about and why they're about it. And I guess the Urek speech hits pretty hard, and I guess, for this arc, but I feel like it is confined and locked in this moment of time in that sense, and it also provides an important message, but a message that we didn't have to have that moment to get in just maybe any other moment, right? Like there could have been another fight and another scenario or another story in particular that kind of utilizes a similar setup and blueprint for how this comes about and the lesson that it's trying to teach, while this Garam story in particular is like central to not only it's central to Tower of God, right? Like Tower of God itself relies on this backdrop and this these piecing together in order to get them together.
I'm
I don't
so going back. I was all on Urek's speech above, but now I'm like back and saying Garam above. Oh my gosh, why are you guys make it so difficult? Shoot, there's so many good okay, there was a few chat said it well. I forgot what it was. It was I think that well, actually what you were saying, Ian, it's not just a big moment for Floor of Death. It's a big moment for the whole series. When you take a look outside and you look at all the moments that have happened from start to finish, that one stands out. Like it does. You find out about Bomb's parents, about the past, about the people who climbed the tower. But then Urek's speech, but we are talking about the arc, so it's hard, I can't really make that argument.
I feel like it's unfair to say that a point in its favor is that it does stuff for the story outside of the Floor of Death.
I actually disagree with this one though. And while fights and items, like how it does that within the Floor of Death is relevant, because if we go into semantics about, what item could be more useful and like how powerful it gets later, it gets a little fuzzy because we are trying to rank it with how it did it. But I personally feel that moments have a little bit of a different light to them, the way I see it, because I think that just because it impacts more of the story there, the moment still happened in the Floor of Death. So I feel like even if it impacts more than the Floor of Death, I don't see how that could be a point against it, because it still happens in the Floor of Death.
Well,
so that'd be
I think the difference is that it started in the Floor of Death.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen and conclude in the Floor of Death.
Well, that's my argument, is that it doesn't have to conclude, in my opinion, to make it one of the better moments. I think that's my thing. Yeah, that's my.
Let's make a decision. Ian, are you going for Garam above? And then Isaiah, you're going for Urek above?
Yeah.
Correct.
I was so on board for either one. Urek's speech is going at number 4. I'm sorry. I don't know. that one for some reason feels better to me, and I just barely. Like, I know, Isaiah, I'm sorry, but that one just, I'm sorry. I was so on the fence though.
I love giving these tough decisions to Joe as the tiebreaker a lot of times because Joe's way too nice. So whenever he does, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put it there.
Yeah, you're happy because you win.
No, listen.
Yeah. I'm just going with what I think is right, Isaiah. I'm just going with what I think is right.
Listen, Joe, that's all any of us can ever do. Just, I'll be watching.
Rick, okay, I can't change. All right, we're moving on. The top two, Hell Joe repents, and Bomb rejects Rachel. Yeah, it is too close to call. Chat has it right.
It's
Hell Joe
close,
repents.
yeah.
Yeah, even chat couldn't decide. Hell Joe repents, and then Bomb rejects Rachel. I have a vote, but I want to hear. You know what? I'll say it first. I think the defining moment of this arc. No, I think the most defining moment of this arc is Bomb rejecting Rachel, because this truly is when Bomb leaves her behind. Now, he still agrees to work with her every now and then. He still agrees like she's okay to have as a competitor, but he truly abandons his main attachment to her at this moment. And we see glimpses of, like, obviously he still doesn't, like, despise her until she tries to kill Kun. However, he does leave her behind. He truly does move on. And that, to me, is, like, this entire story has been Bomb chasing Rachel, and this is the end of that. That's pretty huge.
I will say that if I sort of feel like Bam rejects Rachel, it makes more sense if it's at number one with the discussion we just had, because I feel like there's a lot of build up to this moment that happens outside of this arc, but that like you get this moment here where Bam finally takes this stance, and it feels and is so much more effective because we've seen the kind of damage that Rachel like does to Bam, and that this relationship has done prior to this moment, right? With the whole incident at Train City and Bam, like losing it and going nuts. And what he was willing to either put up with or go through to like get Rachel, right? Or to sort of get this closure and this affirmation. But this moment now where he is sort of pent up and done with it and quite literally rejects her and tells her off is so cathartic. And we know that it's a moment that has as much emotional punchback as weight, because it's not just like Bam being like, all right, Rachel, you're done. We know that it hurt him to do that, because right after he does it, there's that scene where he's like, where I think it's Hockney or whoever's with him, I don't remember, but they're like, Bam, are you okay? And he turns around and he's crying and he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And it's like,
that's
that
true.
it still hurt Bam to do that, but that means that despite his pain and how he felt about it, he knew it was necessary to cut this tie when he did. And I feel like that's gotta be number one.
Preach.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think both of you guys hit the nail on the head. That was a super sad moment too, where he turns around and cried.
Dude, I forgot about that. That hits, bro.
Yeah, that was one of the best moments in the series. Let alone this. Yeah, because I know we were fishing for fights here, but moments really made up for it in the sense that you said it best, Joe, that this arc is an arc full of just moments, back-to-back moments. It has some of the best in the series, I would argue, and that being one of them for sure. I do want to give Hell Joe repenting its due, though, because it is at number 2. So I think there's a conversation to be had just as to why we think it deserves. Yeah. I say I just
thanks for watching, everyone. Yeah.
Because it beat out 4 other or however many other options here, 4 other options, which is relevant. So I would say that the reason that it is 2 is because I think that while the Bomb and the Garam moments and stuff like that for the story overall put things into perspective and make huge fundamental changes, I do feel like the Hell Joe repenting was the bow on the side story, or the main story, I guess you could call it, within the Floor of Death arc. Because like we see this a lot within the series, is that there's an overarching theme. Bomb has to get to Jihad. He's finding out his past. He's, contending with Rachel, etc. And that just kind of fleshes itself out throughout every single arc. But we do every arc for the most part, because we're in a different spot and there's different cultures and civilizations basically that inhabit a lot of these. We get a lot of these characters that we're not going to get again for future arcs, and we get this very specific arc story. It even happens in the Hidden Floor arc in the next one, where we have this struggle with humanity and the fact that they want to be free from it, and like there's this whole little subplot that happens there. So I do feel like for that, I feel like Helljoe's repentance at the end was the perfect way to sum up the arc specific story, in the sense that this is a person that came from nothing, was awarded this incredible opportunity and didn't want to squander it, but didn't know how to utilize it in another way, unfortunately, than to use it by force, right? At the end of the day, because it was incredibly frustrating that majority of the people didn't want the opportunity when they were potentially now given it, right? They wanted to be content there. And that to me, like I said, I mean, in our previous conversations, Helljoe is someone who I could really sympathize with as a character, maybe more than others, I don't know, just because this idea of wanting to be free, or wanting something that's better, but then everybody else doesn't want to because they want to just conform to whatever the secure option is, can be very frustrating, right? Like when people aren't up to your level of enthusiasm when it comes to something. Like I know, personally, I could get very passionate about certain things. And it's like, if there's, if you have a partnership with someone, if you're doing something or whatever, you're trying to teach someone and you notice that they're not maybe at the same level of enthusiasm as you, that can sometimes be frustrating. And you have to find it within yourself to dial back and be like, listen, this person is not you, right? Like you don't have to, this person doesn't have to be at the same level of enthusiasm that you are, or they don't need to want the same things as you. And you have to be willing to accept that sometimes. It's a hard pill to swallow. Even for me, it's something I struggle with and work on each and every day. And so I feel like Helljoe's arc really hit home for me, in the sense that majority of the people, given this golden opportunity, this golden goose, said, no, we're cool with things as they are. We'd rather live in this condition and do that indefinitely than take a chance at doing something new. And Helljoe had to, at the end, accept that, which is just like kind of heartbreaking for his character, because it's like, I have this power and I have this ability to try and take these people out from the dirt, and they don't even want to accept it. What do I do? What do I do in this, in this scenario? And it was unfortunately because he has to become, at least he thinks he has to become a tyrant in order to force them.
Yeah, you really put it well. That was a deep discussion and insight that actually put it. I mean, his repenting is what the arc built up to. He was really the center of a lot of the stuff that happened. So, I mean, I have nothing else to say. You put it well.
Plus, he reminds me of a Borderlands character from the Borderlands series. And
there
we go. Yeah. You know what? Number one. Let's go.
Get all the other shit up.
Everything else before that was fluff. Basically, he's a Borderlands character, and
it's like, now I got him. Now I hit him with the real reason. Rep Borderlands.
That's basically it. And every Garam position that we ranked up is literally just because she's attractive.
Hold on. That's great. But yeah,
I can't wait for the Wife War stream. That's gonna be great.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. But yeah,
there'll be no war, just a winner and a loser.
It'll be a slaughter. Oh god. Anyway.
All right. I think
we did it.
I'm
gonna do my YouTube outro, and then we'll do our stream outro, I guess.
Okay. In this bitch.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. And 3 and 2 and 1. All right, folks, there you have it. That is our top 6 list for the top moments in the Floor of Death arc of Tower of God. This was a really tough one to nail down. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you are dropping a like on this video, subscribing to the channel, hitting that bell if you are new here so you don't miss any future content, and commenting your thoughts. I started, it's okay though, your thoughts down below. What did you think of our top 6 list? Would you have changed anything, or do you think there were any sort of honorable mentions that could have made it into the pool here? We're curious to know all of those thoughts. Make sure you are checking out Dr. Bonehead's channel as well so you can catch the other parts to the stream, the other segments, the other conversations, going over characters and going over fights in this arc specifically. And catch our streams, catch us live. You can catch us, the AOA Show, on Twitch. That's AOA Show on Twitch. The link is in the description down below. And you can catch Joe on his YouTube channel, Dr. Bonehead. But until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you all on the flip. Peace.
See you later.
Ninjas are samurais, blazing the cool knives. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly. They like what you saying. Goma got more through the storylines. I tested your neck from the start. My hunters gon' come for your heart. I promise you'll land in my boulevard. Left them in one piece, no.